Hello there. This is Cindy at cindybdesigns.com. Thank you for joining me today. The card on the left is my sample card. The card on the right is what we will be making today. Another shot, lots of texture, dimension, no embellishments, but you can add them on if you want to. So we're going to be using a combination of products that are retiring and those that are 50% off, and others that are carrying over. Again, that's my sample card. That is Smoky Slate and Petal Pink with Gray Granite. And you can see the dimension that we have going on there. But it's still cool enough where it can only take like one stamp. And we'll talk more about that later. Floral Essence and Parisian Flourish, they are both carrying over. Parisian Beauty and the die cuts are not, but we're going to be using them here right now. Everything is Rosy, currently 50% off, and we're going to be taking the leaf image I'm pointing to with my left thumb there, or my right thumb there that has no nail on it, and do the rest. We have Versamark for heat embossing, Memento Tuxedo Black, and Gray Granite for some ink that you'll see. Silver embossing powder, Pool Party light and dark markers. And again, there's so much going on right now that I can explain it better as we get through the video. And yeah, skip intro. So cardstock is going to be Smoky Slate, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 top folding. You're going to need another piece of Smoky Slate. I put tear and tape on the back of that. Dimensions, everything on the blog at cindybdesigns.com, link below. Pool Party cardstock, and then a little teeny tiny piece of Whisper White. And we are going to be using the Taylor Tag Punch, which is also carrying over. Black Stampin' Dimensionals, Snail. I have both sizes of the Stampin' Dimensionals there in that combo pack. So to get started, I'm bringing in the Stamparatus, and that flower image is from Floral Essence. I'm going to ink it up with Granite Gray ink, stamp it off once. That is thick Whisper White, and I'm going to lay it down again because we're going to color that with Stampin Blends. And I'm going to make a second impression just in case, I mess up, because we all know that I do that. So that way I have two images if I need to have them. So we're going to speed it up a little bit. I've zoomed in. How you choose to color your images with Stampin' Blends, that is up to you. I do better with starting with a dark first, and that is dark Pool Party. And I'm filling in a good, maybe half to 2/3, and that's the light Pool Party, and I'm going to blend that out. And I'm not coloring traditionally, as you would see, because I know how full my markers are with ink and how light I can be with my hand and where I need to be light. And it's just kind of like getting to know your ink, your markers, like I was talking about parking your truck a couple months or so ago. And I'm showing you how I do every single petal here. And the reason why I put that down with Gray Granite ink first, rather than heat embossing it first with silver, which we're going to get to, is because when you try to color in with alcohol markers after the image is embossed, it gets your markers get dirty, they get inky. It just doesn't work out that well at all. And you'll see that as we go on. So I'm going back and forth in between the lighter color and the darker color. I'm going back over petals, as you can see, after it dries, because alcohol ink in the Stampin' Blends it dries quickly. So I'm working my way around all of the petals, and again, blending out. My light has more of a blunt end because I do use it a lot, so I'm twisting and I'm turning to get everything to work out the way that I want it to, and it eventually does. But you can just see how easy it is to create what we're going to create with the fantastic products that we have on board. And again, I invite you to visit our clearance rack. Everything is deeply discounted because we are also moving in between the clear mount stamps to the cling mount, And I will talk more about that next week in the newsletter and during blog post. So I'm just going to finish filling all of that in, and that's what we are looking like. Again, I have the dark marker. I'm going over the stamen, which is the middle of the flower. And I did not put the middle in, but you'll see that later on. So you want to leave that your stamp exactly where you had it in the Stamparatus. Because this time around, we're going to take our embossing buddy, rub it over our cardstock, for that static thing, and then ink the image up with Versamark. And I'm going to, do that. Close the ink pad up. And I'm slowing it down just a little bit right now so you can see the difference that it makes when we finally put all this together. I'm bringing in the silver embossing powder and I'm covering the image with that, and there you go. You can see what that is going to turn out like. It redefines the lines. You've seen me do it with black ink before. So heat tool, setting 2 to heat emboss. And I'm going to pull that up really close right now. Let it heat up. Hold your cardstock up so the air goes right through it, and you get a quicker set that way. Tilt it in the light and everything like that to make sure you get everything quick blast on the back side, and you're good to go. But you can see the distinct difference there. So we're going to fussy cut this image out, and what I do is I turn the cardstock. I keep the blade, the cardstock at the very bottom of the blade closest to me, and I turn the cardstock as I'm cutting. That way you don't get the jagged cuts that make things look ugly or whatever. And this is a very easy image to fussy cut. And if you got to clean up, a few snips here and there, go ahead and do it, or a sander. So that is Smoky Slate cardstock. And the leaves are in gray granite. Again, that coordination thing that we have going on, everything just goes. I have a piece of Pool Party cardstock right there. Once again, the embossing buddy. This sentiment on that 3/4 inch strip wide is a tight fit, but it does work. Lay it down, pull the lid off, just to make sure that everything is straight. Inking that up with Versamark, give it a nice press down. And that is a slow drying ink, so you have like a little bit of wiggle room. And I'm going to sprinkle some silver embossing powder over that, and a little paintbrush to get the excess off just in case. That I'm not going to heat emboss on screen because we've seen it earlier. And that is how we look. So now I'm going to bring in the Tailor Tag punch that is also carrying over. And I'm getting my little banner punch from that. You can also use your paper snips. And that is a 1/4 inch wide, and that's a very tight fit. So when you do things like that, it's easier to cut the strips longer lengthwise and then trim them from whichever side you need to, rather than cut too short. I wasn't sure about how that sentiment was straight or not, so I went ahead and used my grid paper there to test it out. Made sure the stamp was dry, cleaned off, and everything like that, so I had a fresh slate. Stamped it with Memento Tuxedo Black, and yeah, there we went a couple seconds ago. Bringing in the big shot right now, and I have the magnetic, or the base plate, with a thin die adapter with a Parisian Flourish embossing folder. That is carrying over. I love this thing. The detail is incredible, and I do have tear and tape already on the back of that to get in those little like nooks and crannies and everything, so when I do pull it off, it sticks to my cardstock better, and it just adheres better. But that is gorgeous, and the texture is great, and that's why I didn't put any embellishments or anything like that, ribbon or pearls or anything, because I didn't feel like I needed it. So that is from, again, Everything is Rosy, that one leaf. Die cut it out. Everything that is retiring, is going to be in my buy one, get one free from the new catalog starting June 3rd. I will have a list out on May 15th, so keep that in mind. If you want anything, I'm also very generous with the leftover embellishments and designer series paper and everything like that. So you can see with the embossing how deep the adhesive, the tear and tape got into my mat there, and how easily it went down and how gorgeous that is. So I'm pulling everything in right now, and I'm going to start assembling the card, putting it together, wing the measurements like I was talking about earlier, where it's easier to cut larger than smaller so you don't have to redo it, but you want to get the width right to begin with. And yeah, looking, got that little mini paper trimmer in there, which I'm going to hold on to. Seeing where I want to place that flower there. But this is how all Stampin' Up! Products work together. They coordinate beautifully. We have a fantastic color lineup, great products. I'm using 3 different bundles in this card, and they all work. So you can see what I'm doing here to make sure I get everything lined up the way that I want to get it lined up, and cutting everything down that I need to, using my grid mat for the lines on the bottom there. Me running my little pokey tool down the dimensionals, I've talked about this before, it just makes the backing really easy to pull off, which you will see in a couple minutes because I have no nails still. And I'm really hoping that will change. So I'm alternating back and forth in between the normal size Stampin' Dimensionals and the minis. Loaded up a little bit too much. You got to watch your placement, and I did not in this instance here. So I want to get the card down and see how easy the backing comes off of that. That's why I run it through the middle of that, or the dimensional. And I'm going to put sentiments, image, everything to the far right side of my card. I should have brought in my Stamparatus to line it up perfectly, but it did work out. Taking those little leaves from Everything is Rosy, snail adhesive on the back, and adhering them down. And that is how simple this card is. There's so much texture and so much dimension. You have stamping, you have dry embossing, you have heat embossing, you have alcohol marker coloring, the whole 9 yards. And the color combinations are absolutely endless. So I hope that you're all doing well. Please visit me at cindybdesigns.com. Sign up for my newsletter. I have so much stuff going on with the new catalog coming out. And yeah, it's pretty busy right now. I also hope that you join me for all of this and enjoy this video. Please hit like and subscribe. Leave a comment. Tuesday or Monday, I'm going to have a huge stack of DSP giveaway of at least 2 inches. And I hope that you join me for that as well. So have a fantastic weekend. God bless, and I will see you next weekend for our video.